Shout out to our sponsor, Loot Anime.
Get a crate of anime and manga goodies for only $24.95 each month.
Use offer code THEKNOW to get $3 off a new subscription. Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashely Jenkins.
I'm Turney.
Hopes are high for Battlefield 1 this fall, but some gamers are taking issue with one recent development about its multiplayer, which will not be adding female playable characters.
That's certainly not new for the series, as it hasn't had any playable women in multiplayer yet anyway, but, you know, why not?
It's Battlefield 1, like you've always had it, but it's time to get angry.
It's so, you know what, never mind. The internet just gets riled up about things. I'm gonna stay out of it this time.
So we do.
Of course, there's an argument brewing about whether or not the exclusion makes sense in this case.
Now look, we're gonna look at both sides of this. Some are saying that it's an issue of authenticity, that women weren't a major part of World War I combat, so that's why there aren't really any playable women in multiplayer.
However, others are saying multiplayer combat in general isn't all that realistic, so why should it matter?
Yeah, this information comes by way of programmer Amandine Kojit, formerly of DICE, who tweeted about an internal discussion of the company when it came to adding women in the multiplayer.
Now, according to her, the game was originally going to have women in multiplayer, but the decision was later reversed. She tweeted, "The original BF1 pitch given on stage was World War I with one caveat. Screw realism, we're adding female soldiers because we're way overdue."
DICE later changed its mind because it wanted to focus on authenticity. However, it came out later that the real reason was that boys wouldn't find women in multiplayer very believable.
It should be mentioned before we continue that one of the playable characters in the main game is also a woman. So it is a bit unfair that people are accusing DICE of dropping women from the game altogether. That part, not true at all.
But of course, there are some players upset over the fact that you can't choose to play as a woman in the multiplayer. After all, that's an option in Call of Duty. They've had that since Ghosts in 2013, plus Black Ops 3 even let you play as a woman for the main character of the campaign.
Battlefront, another DICE game, also allowed playable female characters in multiplayer. And even taking all of that out of the equation, it's 2016. Just about every game that has any sort of customization has a male or female as its first choice.
That being said, the realism and authenticity angle does seem to be important to the developers this time around. It's why we're getting so many interesting gameplay aspects of World War I that makes the game feel so unique.
And they really are sticking with it. YouTube series The Great War, which is a show totally dedicated to World War I, which you should watch, did a special episode just taking apart the game's reveal trailer.
All in all, despite a few little flubs, they found it to be really surprisingly incredibly accurate and authentic. They even congratulated DICE on picking out details that largely go unnoticed about World War I.
Now, the flip side of this argument is that the multiplayer matches require some suspension of disbelief in general. Multiplayer combat in and of itself is pretty unrealistic, I think we can all admit that, so adding female characters doesn't break the illusion in any way.
Well, players for the most part accept that multiplayer doesn't reflect the authenticity or believability of any particular game. For instance, in Halo, there's basically no story reason for one group of Spartans to be fighting another in multiplayer. That's how we started an entire series.
Yes. And the same goes for any Battlefield game. Every time Japan loses on Wake Island, you're basically breaking history. But we just roll with it because, hey, it's multiplayer, and we understand that it has no bearing or basis in the actual events of the game or story.
This is the same from a gameplay perspective too. There's often abilities that are totally missing in multiplayer that we can do in the main game, but they would be kind of game-breaking in deathmatch, so we just let them go.
Yes. So adding female playable characters isn't really that big of a stretch if you're thinking about it that way, especially when you're talking about an online environment with other methods of customization.
But when we're talking about accuracy and authenticity, putting women on the battlefield, no pun intended, well maybe pun intended, was an actual thing that did happen in World War I. So the authenticity angle might not even make that much sense here.
A number of world powers incorporated women into their armed forces, including the Ottoman Empire, Russia, and even the US Navy. So if you're really going for realism here, guys, maybe those armies should have playable women.
I would like that. Like, just some of them have. Yeah, anyway, it's pretty good. Regardless of how this game ships, though, and who it does or doesn't include in the multiplayer, this is kind of an issue that keeps popping up in the industry. Nintendo's had to tackle this exact problem when talking about the new Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Prior to E3, there was a heavy speculation based on official Nintendo art and the open world direction of the game that players would have the option for some light customization of Link, including whether or not you want a Link or a Linkette.
But since E3, we've learned that won't be the case, and some have taken issue with Nintendo's explanation as to why. So far, their main reasoning behind the decision is that it would mess with the Triforce, since Ganon is male, Link is male, and Zelda is female.
According to them, Link is always going to be the main character of Legend of Zelda, and Link is always going to be male. But whenever they talk about a female main character for Legend of Zelda, they always talk about Sheik or Zelda herself. for some reason they don't want to entertain the idea of Link being a girl.
And of course, that's their prerogative. That's their character. They can do whatever they want with it. But it's also the prerogative of players who want to have a say in the look of their avatar. According to research published by Syracuse University back in 2014, at least 23% of all men choose women as their avatars in MMOs. Most of them are Jack.
Yeah, why would you want to look at a butt of a dude when you could be looking at a butt of a chick?
I don't know, but the butts of the dudes are pretty great.
On the subject of player customization, though, we also have data that gamers are split 50-50 now in terms of gender, so maybe it doesn't hurt developers to give players just an option here or there.
For instance, BioWare just unveiled that the canonical main character of Andromeda is the femme version of the character. You'll be able to choose, of course, just like you had a choice in the Mass Effect trilogy, where Male Shep was the canonical Shepard. He was the one in all the box arts and all that stuff, even though they had that contest for the Femme Shep cover for a thing. Whatever happened to that? Did she end up on a cover? Did she ever get a cover?
I don't know. She's like the Chris O'Houlihan.
Oh, she's the reverse. Gotcha.
Got it. She was on the back.
She got the back.
Girl, you on the plastic. Of course, no matter how all this shakes out, we know that there will continue to be gamers on both sides of the issue. If DICE insists that authenticity is of the utmost importance, you can really hardly fault him for it, although having women wouldn't make the game inauthentic.
But you also can't blame players for wanting more choices because, come on, we love us some customization.
I just want to be a pecky, nurse in the field. Hey guys, who needs a bandage? What do you guys think of Battlefield 1? Yay, feminism. I want to be a nurse. What do you guys think of Battlefield 1 not allowing female playable characters? Leave all sorts of vitriol in the comments down below.
And of course, for future updates on Battlefield 1 and Meg is a nurse, like this video and subscribe to The Know.
I want to have a Kiki beret.
Thanks to Loot Anime for sponsoring this update.
Loot Anime sends you over $60 worth of cool stuff, starting at just $24.95 each month.
Every crate has a theme, and this month's theme is victory.
For the win!
The new crate features exclusive items from Splatoon, Free, and Yowamushi Pedal.
Use offer code THEKNOW to get $3 off a brand new subscription.
This is like the last day to get it too, though, so don't wait if you want victory.